Holding my hand with a peace sign, my store will last forever. What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today, we're taking a look at anime, an overhated anime because of the fan base. I'm gonna be honest, this anime is fucking phenomenal and easily in my top 3 favorite animes of all time. It is one of the animes which actually got me into anime, discluding Pokemon. Alright, this is one of the first ever animes that I watched, and it holds a special place to my heart, and it is the anime which I do own the most figures from, I'm gonna be honest. So, My Hero Academia Season 7 has recently, well, not recently, I put off watching it because I watched it in dub, and dub comes out a little bit later than sub, and I wasn't aware that there's only 21 episodes in this season, when there's normally 24, so I was putting it off, and then I was getting confused, like, hey, it's been like 2-3 months, where the fuck are the last 3 episodes of this season? I then googled it and it's like, oh fuck, okay, this is where the season ends, with 21 episodes, so, you know, I could have watched it earlier, I could have reviewed it earlier, but my bad, G. So, without any further delay, let's take a look at My Hero Academia Season 7, and take a look at the season as a whole. So, how it starts off is pretty much picking up from where it left off, with Deku chilling at UA, training with the other heroes, and preparing to go to war. The Stars and Stripes, the American All Might, comes in and uses her quirk, which is a pretty cool quirk, which I didn't actually know was her quirk until the second episode, because I just couldn't work out her quirk until it physically told me what it was. And she got her ass fucking handed to her by Shiggy. Shiggy then ran away, and then Toga, Darby, Spinner, all were sort of hatching their plans, and All For One was also hatching his big plan and telling them how they should start planning their attacks. Then All Might comes in and is like, we got a plan, let's fucking go. Aoyama is found out to be the traitor. Big shock, big twist, big reveal, and yeah, they use him to their advantage, and they split up all the villains. Darby is fighting Ida and Shoto in a city, an abandoned city. They build a sky coffin, which Bakugo, Bunny Girl, Best Jeanist, sort of copycat, and Aizawa are in, with supposedly Deku, but Froppy and Uraraka fight Toga on a deserted island and accidentally bring Deku with them, and Facum stays and fights the remaining guys with Aoyama, and the rest of them are split up pretty equally across other places. Hawks and Endeavor go to fight All For One as well in a separate place. So they have these massive idea to split everyone up and take them all on one by one, because the villains are pretty big dudes, right? We have Denki and Momo keeping the sky coffin up and in the air with the help of pink hair, I forget her name, Hatsume, I think, Hatsune Miku, sure, and we start to have the conflict of Deku having to rush over. So Deku is barely in this season because he spends most of the season traveling from the island to where Bakugo is. The fights do, like, flick between each other, they do flop and change and sort of mix and match, so it isn't one continuous story. We end up sort of chopping and changing, swapping places all the time, and Darby ends up going full nuke and running away because Kurogiri was rescued from the hospital by Spinner, and he teleported everyone to All For One, and Darby went nuclear, and Deva, Shoto, and the other members of the Todoroki family, like, stopped him. Unfortunately, he still did die, though. We have Toga drinking twice his blood and sort of using his power to the absolute fullest, and ending up sort of dying in the process after stabbing stabbing Ochako and you know, transferring her blood into Ochako to save her life, because Ochako said she was very pretty. And that's pretty much it for the story. Hawks loses his powers because All For One takes it, and then All Might goes Iron Man and fights All For One, whilst Deku is fighting Shiggy, and Shiggy, before Deku gets there, kills Bakugo, takes out the others, and also takes out Aizawa and Monoma. So that's pretty much the story, and it pretty much ends on a pretty big cliffhanger with All Might fighting All For One more time. Like, we're doing this shit again, we're running this shit back, but this time he's Iron All Might, and Deku is fighting Shigaraki, and that is pretty much how it left off. And I'm gonna be honest, everyone's nitpick from the first season was that it's very bright, very happy, the sky's still blue, the sky's still bright, and to that I still say it's true. Like, it isn't a valid criticism, because the sky changes the mood. When the sky is blue, the heroes are hopeful. The heroes believe they can win. There is still chance for Deku to win, and that is very true in Season 7 as well. At the start of the battle, when the heroes take the advantage and pull the rug out from under the villains, the sky is blue. The sky is great. Everything's going according to plan. Yes, there is a lot of fighting, there is a lot of blood, and a lot of, violence going on, but, it is still, like, in the hero's favor. When the villains start to get stronger and start to overtake and start to overpower the heroes, that's when the sky starts to go darker and starts to rain, and we get a little bit more of a gritty vibe to it, especially when Bakugo dies. That is the biggest significant change in the weather. Bakugo dies, the weather goes black, goes grey, starts raining and pissing it down, and that is it. Bakugo dies. They really pull on all your emotional heartstrings when Bakugo does die, because it ends that episode on a massive cliffhanger of if he's dead or not, and the next episode focuses around his entire sort of trying to bring him back to life, and nothing seems to be working. So it makes you linger on the fact that he's dead. I watched this season from start to finish, all 21 episodes back to back to back, all of which are 21 minutes each, so it's easily 8 hours if you want to watch it all in one go. So I had the full experience, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't like waiting weekly. I do not like waiting weekly, and that's where I feel like this anime would have sort of made me get a little bit pissed off, because of how it kept chopping and changing, and the cliffhanger endings, which don't get fully resolved until halfway through the next episode. So you get to the cliffhanger, when you start the next episode, and we're already at a different bit. We're checking in on someone else. So if you don't watch this season all in one go and you break it up into chunks, it will feel a little bit more sort of incoherent and a little bit more choppy. But because I watched it all in one go, I have a much clearer vision on how this season was taking place and how this season was unfolding, and I loved how we got to take a little bit more in-depth look at Dabi and Toga. They were two massive focuses this season, and I really loved their sort of final goodbyes, because you could tell it was coming from a mile away. It was making you focus on these two characters as a whole, deep diving into their backstory, deep diving into their emotions, how they're feeling, how they're upgrading their powers, and their connections to the main heroes. And in doing that, gives you much more care for them and wants them to succeed, do better, get better, and find a way to sort of turn their life around and become heroes. And I do believe Toga manages to do that with her, saving Ochako. Fair enough, she's the one that stabbed her, but she is the one that saves her as well. She is the one who changed her heart and was finally welcomed and felt normal and felt like she had a friend. And that's all Toga really wanted. She wanted a friend. She wanted to feel like she was normal. She didn't like it how people were shitting on her for her experiences. And you know what? That's fair enough. I do agree with that. People shouldn't have shit on Toga. Fair enough, she was slightly strange for eating a bird and sucking her blood, but that's how she showed affection, that's how she showed love, and all she needed was a helping hand, a guiding hand of, this isn't a healthy way, there's ways to manage this. She just needed a little bit of help and a little bit of, connection. She just needed help. She needed someone to be there for her, some support, and she didn't get that until Ochako arrived in her life, and I really appreciate that. I don't like Ochako as a character, I don't like Froppy as a character, but I feel like my opinion of them has changed slightly because of how they helped Toga. I thought it was really impactful, really meaningful, and I do like Dabi's change of events and change of heart, where all he had to do was just go back to them. He just had to go back to them. He just had to talk to them, and he would have been welcomed back with open arms, because that's what they were trying to do. They wanted him back, they wanted him back in their lives, and they were all there to help him and to try and stop him from going nuclear. And that, even though he did end up dying, saying that he hated his dad and that they were all shit, he still had that closure in his heart, being like, oh, everybody's here, everybody cares for me, everybody's trying to help me. And I really enjoyed that, and I felt like it had a really good close for both of their characters, of Toga and Darby. It also brings Todoroki back to a new character arc, which we haven't seen before, and definitely helps him develop further as a character. Bakugo, again, didn't get much screen time. This was a very sort of Todoroki villain-heavy season because everyone was split up everywhere, and it did feel like they were having a hard time trying to get enough screen time for everybody, which is fair enough, but I do appreciate that they gave the time of day to focus on Toga, Darby, and also Todoroki, because they were the big main characters and the big main takeaways from this season. And I quite liked the visual effects as well. The battle was really nice, and there was also this really new thing which I just sort of noticed this season, that they're starting to add these sort of comic book swoosh, biff, bow, pang, these expressive words, these sound effects which we sort of normally see in comic books and like 1980s Batman. And I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know why they decided to do it, but it made it feel more superhero-y, and it had some comedic effect to it. They never did it when it was in a serious battle. They only did it when it was like a comedic timing type thing, and I quite liked it. It just brought some more visual effect to it. And some of the anime figures for the My Hero franchise do have those big sort of sound effects in their figures, which I do also quite like. It also gave a little bit more of screen time to Shadow. I forgot her name. I was going to say Cloak and Dagger, but it's not. It is Tokoyami and also Jiro, which are two characters which I didn't expect to get a whole lot of screen time, but they did. Yeah, we're getting a lot more sort of side characters getting a chance to shine, and I really like this season. We are continuing the battle, and it feels like non-stop fighting, but it is good fighting, it's meaningful fighting. They're not fighting for no reason, and there is story behind it, so it does make for a solid sort of storyline, and there is meaning to everything that's happening on screen. So I really did enjoy this season. I do still think it has its flaws, but everything about it is pretty much spectacular, so I am going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. And other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this YouTube video. If you do want me to review anything else, movie, TV show, anime, please do let me know down in the comments below. I'll get onto it as quickly as possible. But other than that, bye bye.